For 20 years, we've been hearing about the drug costs at $1.2 billion and the cycle time of 12 to 15 years. Looks like the 12 to 15 year time has remained same, but the cost has gone up by probably 2x. How is Genomics going to help accelerate the process so that we can reduce both the drug development time as well as reduce the cost?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the biggest, this is my view on things. I think our general, if you look at sort of the last 30, 40 years of biotech, right, the consistent theme is that turns out we knew less science than we thought we did. And so, biology keeps kind of surprising us by its complexity. And it's like really figuring out the science, right, that's most important for kind of solving the puzzle. Because up until, as long as it's a black box and you sort of like throwing darts in there, trying things and seeing occasionally something works, you're actually gonna have a decreasing rate of success because you're gonna pick out the low-hanging fruit first, and then it gets harder and harder from that point, right? So the only way to really address this is to accelerate the science, right, to understand. And then how do you accelerate science, right? My contention is it's new technology, right? That's the thing that makes phase shifts happen. And specifically being able to see things you couldn't see before, and that's our vision, right? That's our goal. I think the sort of, again, the marginal impact of what we do, I believe, is in many ways the greatest, because we end up enabling all the scientists to do their science, to open up new vistas, and then from that on you can develop new therapeutics, develop new diagnostics, and that really moves the world.
Thank you.
It's not going to happen immediately, but yeah.
I'm curious about how you chose to play in a space that has a monopoly. There's one player that's kind of in a monopoly situation, and what some of those challenges have been because of that. They're dropping prices on an annual basis and trying to make a business plan on what prices are going to be next year. When you're coming out with a new technology, it must be a piece of cake, I'm sure. And how those influences helped you formulate your business plan, how you navigated through that?
Yeah, and so that goes back to one of the initial conceptions of the company, is that we saw the dominance of Illumina. I mean, back in 2012, it was pretty clear. It's even more now, right? There's no, and then again, going back to those ideas, like a lot of people are trying to build sequencers because, obviously that's a big market. But if you look at, how long Illumina has been at it, it's like, they've been investing, close to $500 million in R&D, for the last 10 years, and kind of improving on that selective technology. So I think at some point there's going to be competing sequencers that will come about, probably in the next maybe 5 years or so. But for now, the way we kind of so the company is that we can build on top of the Illumina ecosystem. Like assuming Illumina is there and has the monopoly, there's first of all, it has like fundamental deficiencies, and instead of addressing them by building a new sequencer, you can actually build around it. And then so other applications around single cells and immunology, again, make use of Illumina's install base Illumina sequencers and kind of point them or leverage them towards the direction that sequencer has not been used before. And so in that sense, every time they make an improvement to the sequencer, it improves our product, right? And every time they drop the price, that helps us. And it also, our products actually help them. And so this is, going to the world where for the last 10 years, Illumina obliterated every single competitor that has come about. We're actually kind of very much in a symbiotic kind of a relationship where our success helps them, and so we're fundamentally not threatening. So that was definitely very much a part of the thinking. And so far it has worked. And again, every time they drop the price, which they don't drop nearly fast enough because they're a monopoly, that helps us. And if there's competition that comes along at some point, then that will doubly help us, because now that part becomes potentially a commodity. But that's in the future.
So your technology actually helps to fill that gap from short reads out to the long reads.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody were to come up with technology that would just give you perfect long reads, does that have a huge impact, or seems like there's more value coming out of what 10x is doing than just than adding value to the aluminum boxes?
Yeah, so in many ways, so a couple of things, right? First of all, we have other product lines that are not there, so like single cell genomics and such that sort of are kind of orthogonal to the sequencer in a sense. And it benefits from, if a new sequencer magically appeared that was better than Illumina in every single way, then we just use that. And so that'd be great. As far as the long range product is concerned, there's a corner case, right? If someone came around and kind of matched Illumina in every single spec, but was also, kind of producing perfect long reads, sure, right? That could be the need for a product, but then we have all kinds of advantages that, all these companies would have to scale several orders of magnitude in order to match that. So, not that worried about that, but there's always problem.
Love it.
So, I know that in the sort of more the traditional like chromatography and mass spec world, one of the things that was the hardest to do in terms of displacing customers that some companies were really slow to realize was really about the software. So the software became actually more important than anything that happened in the hardware, because at a certain point all the hardware was essentially the same. And I know that, you've said you're a mathematician, you're fundamentally bioinformatics data person. Is that also part of your strategy to get people essentially hooked on the ability to use the data and visualize it and connect it to an application, or is that?
So the question is whether sort of our software is part of the core strategy to kind of create a competitive advantage, right? That if the hardware component becomes a commodity, that we can still maintain our lead. I'd say partially, yes. So from the beginning, we saw data and software as being core of the product. I kind of see it as an integral component of the product in the same sense that, like you take an iPhone, right? It's really about the software that runs on it, and that's that full product, and that's sort of, you can't really separate the two. In terms of competitive advantage, we see our software. I think we're better at it than anyone else in the space. And, it sounds arrogant, but we've heard that from our customers quite a bit, so I think I can say that. We're not counting on it on giving us like that competitive advantage. I think it is the best and it gives us an advantage, but I think we're like well ahead on hardware and chemistry, so we're going to keep pushing on that. I think the two are integrated. There's always questions around, can you make like a new kind of business model around software and around data? And those possibilities always seem intriguing. Maybe in the future. Like for now, and the goal is to deliver a complete solution to the customer. That's our obsession. That's our focus. Yeah.
I don't know too much about the relationship between your products, but I sort of wonder, is there sufficient overlap such that it's been synergistic to introduce these follow-on products, which to me at the surface sound rather dissimilar? Has that been a very inefficient process, or?
So that's a core question, right? And it's not inefficient because the platform itself. So kind of the process that we went through is like to build that initial product for long range sequencing. Realize what we had to ultimately build is a way to kind of run a huge number of individual biological reactions in parallel, like millions of little partitions, each with its own barcode, so uniquely partitioned, and record results in some kind of a DNA code that can be read, right? Now, the point is, like, once you have a capability and once it's robust, you can actually point it in many different directions, just about arbitrary kind of direction. And so from that perspective, once you have the instrumentation, once you have like the basic microfluidics and the chemistry, now it's a question of developing new biochemistries to go into that platform and new software. So there's components that are common that we use for those different applications, and there are some areas specifically in the biochemistries and the software that are pretty different. So there's huge amounts of synergy, but there's also they each require their own development. That's where the decision making comes in, and some of the hardest and arguably most successful decisions we made were around like deciding to go after these additional product lines before arguably, one would go after them traditionally, right? But I think, the core of microfluidics and chemistry is the thing that enables a lot of these things and a lot of the progress for us to do it very fast. The other thing is also, I guess, the other aspect is sort of less tangible, but it's having like this, the teams, right, that are like experts in those various areas, where if we need a new biochemist or a new enzyme, we've got those teams that can turn them out and come up with new schemes or write new software. So now you can bring the teams together. And that's the conception of the company, right? It's sort of like from first principles, what kind of expertise do you need if you want to build sort of tools, right, in the biospace, and that's how we kind of put it together. So. Yeah.
Have you had any resistance in raising capital for having a company that's in Pleasanton and Tri-Valley as opposed to wanting where your investors actually are located?
Well, the short answer is no, I don't think so. I mean, it makes it a little bit more challenging as opposed to go to Sand Hill Road, right? Because you're not right there. But yeah, that's pretty minor. And then at some point, like as you scale, like our recent crop of investors are more based in New York and Boston anyway. I don't think there's anything bad about Pleasanton. In fact, I think they like it, but it's something different than you, right? So no, I mean, I think it's been great. And again, like the cost. I mean, investors care very much, especially early ones, about how you spend your capital. When you spend it efficiently, that's a big plus. Yeah.
Have you found challenges, or do you face challenges in hiring and filling open positions with the right people?
Oh yeah, like for sure, always, right?
Are there certain positions or skill sets that are more challenging than others to fill?
So it kind of varied through the history of the company. I think at this stage now that we're like fairly well known in sort of in our space, and like we get a lot of our customers, for example, are interested in joining, and we're reasonably well interested in sort of like reasonably well known in microfluidics. So a lot of those areas are not as much of a challenge as they used to be when we were like completely stealth and no one had any idea what we did. The one area that has been a challenge from the beginning and still is, and relatively speaking is more of a challenge now, is software. Because as I said earlier, it's like, 10x is not like a household name, especially among software engineers. And so that has been a challenge, and that's something that we need to work on. And part of it is also kind of expanding. Again, we had a stealth bias from the beginning, and we've been kind of slowly opening up, but we haven't really opened up. Like no one knows really how well we're doing commercially and all those things. And at some point, we're going to start opening up for that reason precisely, for recruiting. Yeah.
How did you decide what the right time was to leave the stealth mode and come out into the open?
So how did you decide the right time to leave the stealth mode and come out? So for us, it was sort of the last possible moment, right? When we decided we needed to start selling the product. So kind of going back from that, right? Like, okay, we're planning to ship it in the middle of 2015. That means you need to start telling customers about it in early 2015. And so there was a big sequencing conference, AGBT, and so that was our plan, is to kind of reveal ourselves there. So there's actually a little bit of a funny story. So our plan kind of going into, in terms of how we're going to launch the company, was that, right? Like middle of 2015, we're going to kind of do big announcements that show some data at AGBT and kind of start building up a sort of momentum as we were very stealth up until that point. And what happened is that in, I think it was November of 2014, we happened to have sort of gotten a bunch of stuff to work. Started generating data, and a banker from JP Morgan stopped by. Our chairman kind of, because they knew each other, told him to, look, you should check out the story. He came by, I gave him kind of an overview of the business, and this is, again, it's pretty naive the first time I'm doing this, and he was, I don't know if you guys know the JP Morgan conference, it's a pretty big deal, right? It's sort of generally public company oriented. Sometimes they invite private companies to present. And again, our plan was to reveal ourselves in February, which is when the AGBT was, and JP Morgan conference is in January. And so this was like November. Then at some point, this banker calls me and is like, you know, I talked to my partners, and you know, we would like for you guys to present at the conference. I'm like, okay, well, it's sooner than we were planning to reveal ourselves to the world. Thinking to myself, I was like, all right, well, thanks, Joe. I'll let you know. And then I hear from the other side, I was like, okay. Do you want to give me a time frame? It's like, oh, I don't know, a couple of days. Let me think about it, right? And it's like, and later he gave me a hard time because he never ever hears that. Right? Because people literally try to, you know, it's like a 100-to-1 ratio for private companies to present there, and it's like a company no one had ever heard of. And it's telling us like, hey, like, you know, about it. So anyway, but yeah, so present, there was a lot of fun. That was the moment when we actually revealed ourselves to the world. It was JP Morgan early 1 Yeah.
You were a pretty accomplished team when you started 10X with the reputation and connections. Was there a time in the funding history of the company when you had a hard time raising capital, or you thought you wouldn't get there?
I mean, every round I thought like, yeah, it was going to be hard, right? And it's pretty stressful. And you should not, I don't think no matter, well, first of all, our reputation was, I mean, we're like a bunch of R&D guys, right? Not like we have done this before. So, and investors, you know, worry about that, right? It's like, there's a whole lot more to building a business than just, you know, inventing some stuff and building products. So I think, you know, the seed round, I would say, was relatively straightforward, although, you know, as Chris talked about it too. Series A, that tends to be the big threshold, right? Because that's where you go from sort of something small to where, you know, there's real stakes involved, and people really, really assess you. We were, I mean, part of the reason, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, the trick to overcome a lot of problems is to worry about them first, right? And so, you know, I think what we did right with Series A is kind of prepare a lot and kind of set these things up. And I was fortunate to get John Stupnikel involved in the company. He's chairman of 10X, and he was the founder of Illumina, like the first, you know, when Illumina was N of 1, it was John. And so he had a lot of reputation in the investment community, has like raised a lot of money from them, and so that helped from a reputation perspective as well. And kind of that was key, kind of setting up those pieces and having a process that was synchronized, and you had sort of competition going into, like, for a new deal, and that was the key to getting Series A. Series B was pretty easy because it was like someone who invested early on for a small amount in Series A. They wanted a lot more, we didn't give them more. And then they were kind of primed when they saw like the progress, they kind of jumped in with a good offer. Series B. Series C was probably our hardest one, and the reason there is that there was a mismatch of expectations and the reality of the market. We went, if you remember, this was 2015. There was a big sort of biotech run-up. You know, valuations were getting really high. Like our board felt like we're doing well. We should be able to get a good, like really good price, and you know, kind of went out fundraising. This was the end of 2015, kind of started testing the waters, and all like things just kind of dropped. So it became all of a sudden like that. So ended up fundraising like just about the very worst time to do that, and that was tough. We managed. I mean, I think part of like we managed basically in the fact that, you know, the team was just going. There was so much activity that was happening inside the company, the products that were coming in the pipeline, but that was definitely, and that was part of it too, is like we had people who were interested in potentially funding us. You're having these conversations, and it turns out that they pull out, and later you find out their fund blew up because, you know, it was going to blow up. So I mean, I guess one of the things you should never underestimate how difficult, no matter how well you're doing, no matter how well things are going, that just fundraising is always a challenge.
For your single cell sequencing plans, when and why did the new cells become retargeted?
So when, so we launched our first product in that sort of product line in May of this past year, immunology. We started working on it, you know, sometime before that. You know, it doesn't take us that long to develop these products, again, because we have this baseline and a lot of components that can be put together, especially for that product. So part of it was, we could see we could build it. Now, there's a basic, like going back to this, so I would say there's two drivers, besides the fact that we could do it, right? That were there. It's like, one is that we were getting a lot of interest from, especially from pharma companies, once they saw our single cell product and they kind of saw the potential. And there's a lot of interest around immuno-oncology that has been there for the last few years, and there was a clear interest in something like this because as people have been thinking, it's like you need to kind of unlock the black box in the immune system. And so we're getting a lot of, and again, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but the key people who sort of put dots together and started kind of asking us about it. And the other thing is just going back to my notion was like you want to get at something that's fundamental. An immune system is just like, it's the body's therapeutic diagnostic system, right? Evolved over hundreds of millions of years and is involved in just about every condition of importance out there, right? The fact that we don't really know what's going on is like, you've got to get in there, right? And so that was the imperative.
Question?
I wanted to know if you're already able to see kind of the impact beyond, say, revenue generation. What do you think actually sort of the social impact, the societal impact will be kind of your enabling technology? Are you seeing kind of glimmers of new therapeutics, or is this really going to unlock kind of cancer treatments because now you can look at the diversity of cells?
Yeah, for sure. And I think actually we see a lot of these glimmers and sooner than I expected. Like biotech companies starting specifically around our technology, like literally, there was sort of, that's the hunting strategies, like buy a whole bunch of our stuff and discover drugs using it. There's a few cases where those are particularly powerful. Early in the summer, our support team organized kind of an internal seminar for customers of the immunology product. We had 3 customers come in and give their kind of stories around how they've used the product and how they would like to use it in the future. And they're all great talks, but there's a particular great story from a researcher from University of Washington. So they're doing a lot of immuno-oncology stuff, and it's kind of different kinds, like using whether it's sort of CAR-T-oriented things, or the T-cell therapies, or checkpoint inhibitors, so sort of a lot of different things. But and they work fairly closely with patient samples, and in particular, there's one example that she talked about where there's a patient that. So one of the issues with immunology, this is like a huge revolution in cancer treatment. Like all of a sudden, cancers that were completely untreatable are now amenable, and these drugs, like all of a sudden, it just works. Like people actually get cured, but only something like 20% of people get cured. And in some fraction of people, there's sort of really adverse effects, and we don't know why people who get cured, and why when they don't get, why they get these side effects, they get those side effects. It's all kind of a mystery. And so she had a patient, and most of the time you kind of these patients you don't track them like consistently enough. But there was a patient that they could go. They happened to take biopsies. It was a cancer. There was one of those untreatable cancers. They gave him immunotherapy, went into remission, like complete remission for a year, and then the cancer came back. And there was while they took the biopsies, they had no idea why the patient responded in the first place and why the cancer came back. But then when you actually look, again, using our products at the tumor itself and the the microenvironment and what was happening to the immune cells, it actually became clear what was responding, what was the chances for response, and how the cancer got around the immune system in the future. And that was one of the things, like she actually said, I wish I had this when the patient was alive, right? And this is now something we're going to be using going forward on future patients. And again, this is something that we thought about as being that will happen in the future. I'm somewhat surprised by how fast it's happening. And I think part of it is just that there's these new therapies that are coming online that people are very eager to start applying.
I remember seeing a talk by Ricardo Macaro who was at AstraZeneca maybe, or GSK. Anyway, he was getting exactly at this. He would not have been surprised about things happening. He was talking, they were spending fortunes trying to figure out how cells were responding to treatments, and the concept of being able to go in and look for these types of things. He was just scrambling, trying to find ways of looking at responses so they could do, I mean, their objective was to shoot pitchforks full of different therapies at it so they can cut everything off the pass. But, I mean, kind of going back to your question, you said that companies are being spun out, set up based around your technology. Have you ever considered cashing in on that part of it? Because now you have the tools, you have the expertise, you have the proprietary information, and then partner with these companies in some ways. There's a huge potential impact in going down paths like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, right? And that sort of comes up a bunch. For now, certainly our philosophy is to enable the world. We want to build products and kind of enable others. And I think there's tremendous revenue to be made just doing that. And once people discover kind of the way to treat these cancers and they need biomarkers going into the clinic, then they will naturally use our tools there and to use them repeatedly. And I think the amount of money you can make just doing that is pretty tremendous, right? And there's no need. I mean, it's a whole other thing, right? To become a drug company and kind of go and get into this whole other sort of set of expertise that you need. And that's not something that's particularly interesting to us, at least at this point. Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of, that's how I think about it. Yeah.
I'm just curious to know, since your technology is new and it is basically targeted towards certain areas on the genome, right? Is it targeted sequencing?
No, it's not targeted. It can be targeted, but our focus is more on just basic discovery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not interested in doing the whole genome sequencing one more time and see how is it different from the previous attempts. Anybody doing that or not?
Yeah, lots of people do that, yeah. I mean, and sort of there's comparison of doing the genome sequencing, like using the 10x link reads versus like what you get with short reads. And we've done this, others done this, like all other types of information that you get from that. There's papers that are getting published on that. On the single cell side, there's standard experiments of you're doing kind of bulk average type expression people have been doing for a long time versus doing a single cell level. And there, the comparison is, it's very sort of night and day. There's no real predicate for immune profiling that much. I mean, there's the people have been doing these sort of not single cell based immune profiling but it kind of gets into different questions. So yeah, to the extent that it makes sense, people do the comparisons, but oftentimes there's not even a predicate. So that answers your question.
So in true startup mode in the very early days with the 3 co-founders, we were multidisciplinary, but we were all scientists.
Yeah.
Was there a natural evolution into business strategy, or were those some of your early hires coming to actually formulate the company and the vision of the company, or was that just kind of between the 3 of you, pushing the limits and
Yeah, it was very much, I would say it was the 3 of us. I think that was like one of the reasons I wanted to bring John to be involved with the company, because he brought a lot of that sort of both mentorship and just he's been there. He knows just about every side of business that comes up. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting thing, right? Like, do you? I think, maybe I'm biased somewhat on this, right? Like, I think the really big visions tend to come from the technical side. So I think it worked out for us, but it definitely has been sort of a stressor, because you always kind of try to figure out what is it that you don't know, where you don't have experience with.
You got one more question, and then we'll.
Yeah, just you mentioned the importance of getting who's now your current chair involved with the company. I wonder if you could share how you went about creating that relationship for those who are at that stage where a critical advisor in the industry they might want to pursue.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do that.
Yeah, no, I think that's key, right? Like, I can point to a few key decisions we made along the way, and that was one of them, like getting John involved. Well, first I yeah, well, you have to have clarity, what is it you want, right? Then, I talked to, quite a few people just in the industry trying to both get a sense of, well, good things for the great people, right? And then talk to them and kind of get their sense of whether what they say makes sense, and oftentimes it doesn't, right? And so we, kind of ended up meeting with a bunch of people, and John is kind of unique. He's sort of like one of we kind of pretty quickly realized that he's phenomenal. It took us a while, so it took a series of meetings to convince him to join. Because initially it was just like three of us, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I'm not really busy, but feel free to call me if you need advice, but we'll see. And so kind of showing the progress, I kind of assume that it's going to take some time. It's not an immediate thing. Someone is great, they're typically busy, and they want to be involved in things that are going to be substantial, right? And so that was my sort of pattern, is kind of keep, meeting with John at various intervals, asking for advice and showing the progress that the company was making. And once he saw the trajectory, that's the thing that got him excited and got him involved. And you also want to be, the other thing is just the sort of vision. You wanted something that could be significant and big, right? That's something that people did as well.
Okay, so we've kind of gone over a little bit. I apologize for that. But thank you to Serge for coming in and sharing the story of a really fabulous company. I think hopefully you've gotten across it's one that we're going to be hearing about for a pretty long time, and having what I think is going to be a really tremendous impact on our healthcare system in the future. So thanks for being a great audience. And
Yes, so we've got some time still for networking. If you guys want to hang out and talk to each other, we can get Serge to hang out for a few minutes to answer any questions you didn't get to ask. Two things I want to let you all know about. One is in reference to the challenge of finding software engineers and other talent. Yolanda and I and a couple other collaborators are working on something called Tri-Valley Tech Connect, which if you go to trivalleytechconnect.org, it's sort of a career fair focused on the tech sector, including life sciences and software development. And the goal of that is to bring the local talent pool here and connect them directly in a focused half-day event with founders and CEOs and HR teams like 10x Genomics, and get some people not to enjoy the commute as much anymore. So that's one thing, so check out that, trivalleytechconnect.org. The other is that we have an open Slack community that we run. It's been up for about 6 weeks. It's called Startup Tri-Valley. If you go to our website, iGetIHub.org, or our other website for the incubated, switch.io, you can invite yourself to it. It's just a totally open platform for people in the Tri-Valley who want to plug into the startup community to be able to do more of this in a virtual environment on a sustained basis. So I encourage you all to join that. If we get enough of you, we'll start an actual channel for the life sciences and get some collaborations going on there. So that hang out. I'll be here. Hopefully, Don and Serge can hang out. Thank you all for coming, and thanks again to Serge and Don.